these are actual ads that I'm running. This is my YouTube ads dashboard here. And you can see I've got a whole bunch of ads running at the moment. This is the campaigns view, by the way. If you are new to, and this is the Google Ads dashboard, right? So I run YouTube ads, but YouTube ads are part of Google Ads. So if you're running like Google search ads, then it's going to look very similar to this. It's going to be the same dashboard, but these are all YouTube ads and or demand gen ads, which is a new thing that they just started to kind of replace YouTube ads. So what we're going to do is look through, I mean, I got a bunch of them here, but I'm just going to stick with the first one on here just so we don't confuse ourselves. And I'm going to look through it in order of what is most important here. So there's pretty much, there's so many different fields that you could look at here. I mean, just looking at this, like I could scroll over and you could see there's all these different fields to look at. And I don't want you to get too stuck in the weeds. So I'm not going to explain all of these. I'm just going to explain the ones that are really important because not every field is important here. I want to explain the ones that are the ones that matter for your performance. And so specifically what we want to look at is how we're doing at every step of the process. So what I want to know is, okay, I've got these video ads that are running. Are people seeing them? If so, are they watching or are they skipping? If they are watching, then, and like what percentage of them are watching is a better question, right? You're never going to get 100%. What percentage of people are watching them? What percentage of those people that watch are clicking on them? What percentage of those people who click will opt in? And then of those people, and this depends on your funnel, right? If you send them directly to a product page, then the question is what percentage of the people who click buy? But the funnel that I'm running here is they opt in for a free lead magnet, then they book a call with me, and then they buy, right? So, and they fill out an application before they book the call. And the application qualifies people too, so not everybody that fills out an application is even allowed to book a call because it's filtering out the people that are not my ideal customers. So what I'm trying to do is figure out like what is the percentage that is going from one step to the next at each step, and how much am I paying in ad spend? Like how much do I pay in ad spend per click? How much do I pay per opt-in? How much do I pay per booked call, etc.? So with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump into this. So the first thing, oh, and by the way, I think if you go to appearance here, or it's something up here, if you just started using Google Ads, it's going to put you in like simplified mode. You want to get out of that and go to, I think it's called expert mode. Like you just turn on expert mode once and it just keeps you there forever. So it's been years since I've done it, but I think it's something that's up here that you can turn it into expert mode. And then I'm in the campaigns view. I'm looking at all campaigns, right? That's what I'm doing right here. So for this ad, the first thing I'm interested in is conversions. So conversions means the conversion events that I set up to tell the ad platform that this is what is important to me. And you can see here, I've got 3 different conversion events. I've got filled application, qualified, right? Because yeah, so I'm only sending them data when I get an application that's qualified based on their answers, and I don't send information if they're not qualified. That way, the algorithm will continue to get me more qualified people and not more unqualified people. Then I'm getting the free training opt-in. So that's just they put in their information, they get the free lead magnet. And then I'm putting the call booked, right? So those are the 3 that I'm tracking. Unfortunately, I can't track sales very well because the way that I'm doing it, where I'm selling over the phone, usually they're giving me their payment info and I am typing it in on my end. So they're not actually the ones filling out the order form. So this is unable to track sales. I just have to match it to my data on the back end. So that's an unfortunate consequence of if you do sales over the phone, but it is what it is and I make do. Anyway, so these are the three the three categories that I have optimized for in this ad. So you can choose what conversion actions you want to maximize, and you tell the algorithm that. I'm not going to get into how to do that here because we're just looking at analytics, but to see this kind of broken out by the number of different types of conversions, you want to go into segment and conversions, conversion action. I already have it set, but if you don't see that already, that's how you do it. And then, okay, and then which columns you see here depends on how you set it. So these are the columns that I've set. If you want to add or remove a column, you just click on columns and click on your little pencil thing. And then you can go into all columns. Kind of lagging here. And then there's a whole bunch of different categories. So like performance columns, you can see number of clicks, click-through rate. And the ones that are checked are the ones that I'm already showing. If I want to see like the number of views, for example, then I would check that box and it would add that views column in. So that's what to do if you want to add any of these columns. So I'll show you the columns that in my experience are the most important. So the first one to start with is this conversions and cost per conversion. So this is, and then this is the cost. Like this is the total amount that you've spent during this period on this particular campaign. So I have it in the period as you set up here. So you set like whatever dates you want to see. So I have like a 2-week period here for basically the last 2 weeks. And so all of these metrics are going to be the performance during that period that I've set up here. So I want to see my conversion. So it tells me I got in this row here is like the total for the account. And so I want to look at this row, which is just for this ad campaign. So I got 42.64 conversions total, which is just a sum of these three numbers. So I got 36 conversions on the free training opt-in. And by the way, when you see these decimals, it's kind of weird. It's like you can't get 0.49 opt-ins. You either get the opt-in or you don't get it. Like there's no decimals there. The reason that it's doing this is because if you have multiple ad campaigns running, then it's attributing, like it's sharing between the two. So let's say that somebody watches my first ad and they do not opt in, and then they watch my second ad a day later, and then they do opt in. Well, what the dashboard is doing is saying that, well, the first ad and the second ad should both kind of share the credit for that person opting in. And so because of that, it has this way of allocating. It's going to give like 0.4 to the first ad and 0.6 to the second ad or something like that, depending on how far away they are in time, how many times they watched each of them, etc. So I don't really mess with that. I just kind of assume that this is relatively accurate. So that's why you get decimals. Anyway, so for this one, I spent $283 and I got 36 opt-ins. Like I got 36 leads for that amount of money. So it would be really nice if they just calculate for me what is my cost per lead. It should be like right here, but they don't do that for you. So I'd take out a spreadsheet or my handy little pocket calculator here, and I'll say, okay, it's what, 283 divided by 36.5. I round just to be lazy. Okay, so I'm spending $7.75 per lead, right? And then I can do the same thing with the application or the call booked, right? So I spent $283 for 3 booked calls, a little bit more than 3. So I'm just a little under $100 per booked call. Now, I should also mention that this tracking is not perfect because of like ad blockers and script blockers and stuff. It's missing some. So really, I'm 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got more than 3 booked calls, and I can go look in my calendar. I can look in my back end to get the real numbers for this. But this is generally at least a close estimate. And I probably got more leads than 36, right? So my 775 a lead, it's actually less than that, but not a whole lot less. I find that these tend to be about 80% accurate on average. And it's kind of variable, but generally that's how it goes. If you want to get more accurate about that, then there's softwares like Hyros that you can use that supposedly track this better, and people generally tend to agree that it tracks it better. So that's an option. But if you're just getting started with this, then it's probably just use the tracking that's already embedded. Okay, so that's the conversions. And the cost per conversion. Like, that is the most important part. If I'm getting leads for $7.75 and I'm getting booked calls for a little under $100, it's like, that's good performance. I'm happy with those numbers. Cool. So at that point, I don't even really have to look into it any deeper if I don't want to. Like, that's pretty good. But let's say that I'm not happy with the numbers, or I do want to look into it a little further. Well, the next thing that I would look at is clicks. So I'd say, okay, I got 106 clicks and my cost per click was $2.67. So for every person that clicked, I paid $2.67. So that's like, is that good or is that bad? And your cost per click is based on a lot of things. It's based on how competitive is your market, like how many other people are trying to reach the same audience as you. Excuse me. How many other people are trying to reach the same audience as you, and how interested are people in your ad? Because you could show your ad to 1 million people, and if it sucks, then nobody will click, So, I mean, that's unlikely, but very few people click. So there's a few factors, and we're going to go deeper into this in just a moment. So we got $2.67 cost per click, 106 clicks. Another thing I might like to look for is, what is my opt-in rate? So of the people who click, how many people actually become a lead? And so that would be this number, 36 divided by 106. And again, they don't give me a calculation, so I'll pull out my little pocket calculator and do it. 106 divided by 36 equals, oh no, I did that backwards. I have to do 36 divided by 106. That is a 34% opt-in rate. So of the people that click, 34% opt in, which is actually surprisingly good. That's like, I normally expect that to be around 20%. So 34%, I'm quite happy with that. And then of course I can do, okay, of the people that opt in, how many of them fill out an application? And that's, 3 divided by 36 is like, what, 1 out of 12. So that's like 8 or 9%. And I can, I'll create a spreadsheet that does all of this, and it uses the real numbers for these rather than just the numbers that are given in the ads dashboard. But just showing you here the kind of the high level of how this works. So, okay, my cost per click is good, $2.67. That's reasonable. And actually, you can compare it to your overall here. So I run a bunch of ad campaigns. My average is $2.51. So $2.67 is right about the same as my average. Okay, so what else do we want to see? Well, let's say that our cost per click is high. Let's say this is like $8. Well, that would be pretty poor, depending on your industry. Again, like if you have a super competitive industry, then maybe $8 is good, So don't compare your numbers with mine unless you have a very similar offer and like a very similar audience. So let's see. So next thing that is very interesting to me is this video played to. So this is how many, the 25%, how many people watched the first 25% of your video? So that is going to depend on how long your video is. So for example, if your video is exactly 2 minutes long, then it's going to be, the 25% is going to be 1/4 of that. That's going to be how many people watched at least 30 seconds of the video. So for this one, I get 21%, which is pretty good, right? So that means that 20 or 20.5, I guess. 20.5% of people, or like 1 in 5, chose to continue watching the video even when they could have skipped, which is pretty nice. These are all skippable ads, by the way. You can also do unskippable ads. You've probably seen that just watching YouTube. You see these like 15 or 30-second ads that you cannot skip. I don't ever use those. I prefer the skippable ads, and I like to make them a little bit longer. My ads are usually 2 to 3 minutes long, sometimes a little bit longer than that. A lot of people think that's crazy, but it works. It works on YouTube. It doesn't, it wouldn't work on TV probably. Well, no, it does work on TV. Actually, I take it back. If you ever seen an infomercial, those work like crazy. That's why they keep doing it. Anyway, so this is how many people watch the first quarter of the video. This is how many people watch the first half of the video. So we got 13.5% watch the first half. This is how many watched the first 3 quarters. And this is how many watch all the way to the end. Which I usually don't look at this because I expect some number of people to take action and actually click on it before they get to the end, right? So the like number of people that watch the whole thing, I basically use this number. So 10%, 1 out of 10 people that are shown this video will watch basically till the end. Now, this the reason that this is important is it shows you if it's getting people's attention. So especially this 25% number, if this number is really low, let's say this number was 5%. Well, if this number was 5%, that would mean that the beginning of my ad is not getting people's attention very well and people are skipping. So I want that number to be high. Generally, probably about 15% or more. So if I scroll through my other ads, this one's 17%, 22, 16, 18. Yeah, and this, okay, so here's the lowest. Like this is what, 11%. Oh, and you can see also the cost per click is super high. I'm paying $8 per click on that one. So this is a difficult audience. That's part of the reason. Anyway, so yeah, basically that's the only one that's under like 15%. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb. For 25% watch, you want that to be 15%. Okay, so what else? This will show us if people are watching. Now, if you have like, let's say you're getting 20% watch the first 25%, watch the first quarter, but then this number drops to like 3%, well, then that means that somewhere between the first quarter and the first half, you're losing people. And the same with the 75%. Like you can see if there's a very steep drop off in these numbers, then you're losing people at that point where there's the drop off. So if you compare this, like you compare these numbers to my overall account numbers, you can see that they're pretty similar. So that suggests to me that this ad is good, that it's working well. Of course, you're not going to have anything to go on here if you're just starting with these. But if you have ads that are already working, then that's kind of what you compare to. Now, there is a situation, especially when you start scaling, where you just inundate people with the same ad over and over again. So the same person has seen your ad 10 times and the performance drops, right? Because if they were interested, they probably would have clicked on it the first 1 or 2 times. What you can do to see that is this average impression frequency per user. That's what this stands for. Average impression frequency per user. And hopefully this is big enough that you guys can see. I know it's kind of small text here. But this is how many times has the average person who saw the ad, how many times have they seen the ad? So for me, here in this ad is 1.4 times, which is perfectly acceptable to me. If this got to be like 5 times, then I would start thinking, okay, maybe I need to expand my audience a little bit, or maybe I need to create a new ad because this one's been oversaturated. So what else? Those are kind of the main ones here. I can look at, oh, this like optimization score and limited by budget and all these suggestions that you get from Google Ads, ignore them all. They are utterly useless, or in most cases worse than useless. Like if you listen to Google suggestions, you will not have good performance in your ads. Just trust me on that one. Or try it yourself and, you know, throw your money in the toilet if you want to. But I don't recommend it. And then, okay, so we got like impressions. This is, oh, where did that go? Impressions, this one. This is just how many people were shown the ad. And then we got like, so this is really not very useful at all. You can see there's cost per impression in here somewhere, which is somewhat interesting. Where's that? Cost per impression. Okay, yeah. So this gives you an idea of how competitive your audience is. So the way that the costs work is it's an auction. So there's, hey, this guy is watching a YouTube video. Everybody that wants to target this guy, everybody who this guy is part of the audience, you all compete to show your ad to this person. And whoever is willing to pay the most will get the ad spot, essentially. And this is all done automatically. Like you don't have to sit there and bid. Like you're not like on eBay. This is done automatically by the system. So you don't have to worry about how that works exactly, but you want to know this is the cost per M means 1,000, like in Roman numerals, M is 1,000. Cost per 1,000 impressions. So in order to get 1,000 people to see this ad, I need to spend $64.86, right? Which means that per impression, by the way, that is, what is it? 64.86 divided by 1,000. You're spending 6.5 cents per impression, which is pretty wild. So you spend 6.5 cents to show your ad to somebody. But what this is useful for is seeing how competitive the market is that you are going after. So if I look at that compared to, where's that one that I'm spending $8 for? $8 a click, rather. That is that one on the bottom there. Okay, so this one is $60 per impression, which is a little high, but it's kind of in line with some of these other ones. Yeah, so this one's 64, and this is getting like a third of the price per click, which suggests to me that probably my ad is not that ad that's getting $8 a click. The reason I'm spending so much per click is that the ad isn't as good. Or it could be that the audience is just kind of like worn out, that they don't click very much because they're marketed to too much, something like that. Like they're more skeptical. And I can see, okay, how are they comparing in terms of like 25% view? If I go back down to, which one was it? No, I forgot. This one. This is, actually, no, that's a different one. Oh, no, that's right. That's right. Okay. So that's only 12%. Oh, okay. You know, actually, the reason that this one is high is because I tell them the price in the actual ad. This is, I'm advertising a product that costs money, and I tell them in the ad it costs $100. And so all of the people that, you know, that don't want to spend any money on anything and just, you know, only take stuff for free, that my mentor calls those the freeple people. Like there's some people that will only ever take something if it's free. And then there's the cheaple people that will only ever take something if it's cheap. And then there's the preeple people that are willing to pay a premium if it's going to pay off to them. So there's a lot of these freeple people and cheaple people. And anyway, so that's basically, I'm scaring them off and they don't click because I'm telling them the price right away, which is actually I'm doing on purpose because I want the ad algorithm to optimize for the people, the people that are actually willing to invest in themselves. So the CPMs are like give you an idea of how competitive the market is, how many people are trying to reach the same audience and driving up the price. And then click-through rate, CTR's click-through rate, like what percentage of people that see the ad are clicking on it. So that's a decent one to look for in terms of impressions, or to see like how they're performing. And then this is the one that's $8 a click. The click-through rate is very low, right? It's like most of these are 1 or 2%. This is less than 1%. So that tells me that, you know, not many people that are seeing the ad are clicking through. So that's very useful. Like if I thought that, oh, it's just a very competitive audience, well, I see the CPMs show me that actually the CPMs are not that high. It's not that competitive an audience, but people are not clicking very much and they're not watching very much. So it's the ad is not good enough, or it's scaring a lot of people away. So yeah, that's it. Like those are the important things. As you can see, there's a whole lot more fields that I didn't go over here, and even more, like there's hundreds of fields if you go into columns. But I went over the ones that are the most important. And apart from that, you really very rarely, if ever, have to look at these other ones. Cool. So I'll go ahead and take some questions here. So I see one question from Mike says, what's your daily budget when you're running this ad? Yeah, so that is $20 a day. And yeah, this is something you can change whenever you want. So when you find that an ad is working well, then you generally increase the budget. At a certain point, you increase it so much that the returns start to deteriorate a little bit. But yeah, that's my daily budget there. And then let's see. Jim says, do you typically find ad costs increase over time as you're running your ads, or does the cost per click drop? Yeah, that's a great question. Usually they decrease at first because the algorithm is learning and it's getting better. And then that's if you leave the spend the same. Right? If you leave the daily spend at the same amount, then generally it's going to decrease over time. Like for this ad, for example, when you opt in for this ad, it takes you to a video that says, hey, I paid $10 to get you. Like that's kind of the beginning of my VSL after the ad. It's inviting people to say, hey, I can get leads for $10 a piece. So click here to book a call with me and I'll install my system into your business. Well, it was $10 a piece when I created that video, but now, as you can see, it's like $7.75 a piece. So it's gone down. But that will reverse itself if either one of two things happen. Two things together, really. If you increase the budget so much that you're saturating the market, and this is especially true if you have a small market. Like my market is pretty big, so I don't have to worry about this too much. But if you're targeting like a small town or something there's only a few hundred people, like then you're gonna show your ad to everybody in that town within a few days. And then once they've already seen it, then the performance is going to go down over time. If you're showing it to like the whole world, well, your performance is going to stay steady for you can like handle a lot more ads before the performance goes down. And that's why this number, where'd it go? This one, average impression frequency per user, that's where this is important. Because if this is showing like 10, that means that the average person has seen it 10 times. So do you think showing them the same ad an 11th time is really going to make much of a difference? Probably not. So that's what to consider there. If that number starts to get high, then you're going to see that your cost per lead increases. And Jim says, when you say impressions, you mean they will see your ad for 6 cents as an in-stream ad. Yep, that's exactly it. Chris, do you run your retargeting ads? How much do you typically pay per click? I barely run retargeting ads, although, yeah, I mean, it is definitely a good strategy once you're more advanced. Like the way that you do retargeting ads, and this is something that I'm actually planning to get into more this year, is you target people that have taken one step in the process but have not finished. So, for example, somebody that has become a lead that has opted in, but then they haven't booked a call with me. So then I can create another ad that targets those people specifically and says, hey, click here to book a call. So that's something that is, I have not gotten to that point yet, but it definitely does work. Well, that's not true, actually. I do have one ad that's doing that, but it's fairly new. But yeah, retargeting is definitely profitable. Retargeting is super profitable if you have a YouTube following. Like if you have thousands of people watching your YouTube videos every day, then retargeting is amazing because people already know who you are and they already trust you. And then conversion rate on calls and appointment show up rate. Yeah, it's like I have to look at my sheet, but it's like 20% conversion rate. Show up rate is like 80, 85%, something like that. Looks like you get 10% of subscribers to make application book a call. Do you find that consistent on most of your ads? Does it vary by audience and funnel type? Yeah, it definitely varies by audience and funnel type. But if you're, I mean, that's a good benchmark to go for. If your ads are good at bringing in the right type of person and the rest of your funnel is good about getting those people to book a call, then yeah, 10% is a good benchmark to shoot for. And I think I'm going through these comments backwards. I see you still have your lingering cough. Try some honey. It may help. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I had the flu like a month ago and I'm still coughing. It's ridiculous. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I think that's all the questions. So hopefully that's helpful, and give that a try. Run some ads. I mean, obviously you don't get to use this until you actually run some ads. So don't be afraid. Give it a try. You know, put a small budget on it if you want. Don't feel like you have to be perfect, because mine still are not perfect, but they still get good results. And, you know, you're never good at something the first time. So thanks for joining, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.